Well, here's a new face. There's Ryan at Cabazon with the dinosaurs, so we must be heading east out of LA. And yes, that's a big turtle. Our first stop camping is in Quartzsite, Arizona. It has a summer population of approximately 3,700, where the average temperature in summer is about 110 degrees. But in the winter, the population can exceed 1.5 million. We chose to stay at Plamosa Road, the BLM land there, as it was the farthest camp from the actual town of Quartzsite. We found our camp spot, and Ryan quickly began digging out and rebuilding the fire ring. The sunset was absolutely spectacular. The moon and the stars were crystal clear as well. We got our campfire going and settled in for the night. Good thing, because it sure got chilly. I used red light in the back of the truck and under the truck to illuminate so we can see where we're walking. It also helps to see the stars more clearly. Quartzsite is located between the I-10 and Highway 95 in the southwest corner of Arizona, and is just 17 miles from the California border, with Quartzsite at the bottom of the screen and the arrow pointing to our camp. Quartzsite is featured in the 2020 Oscar-winning movie Nomadland, starring Frances McDormand. The most popular months are January through March, where they have 9 major gem and mineral shows, 15 general swap meets, and the Rubber Tramping Rendezvous and Van Dwellers conventions. Its star attraction is all the ATV trails in the area. Dinner was simple, a couple hot dogs on the fire and a bag of chips. Going through Quartzsite is the Arizona Peace Trail. It is 675 miles of off-highway vehicle trail loop system in Mojave, La Paz, and Yuma counties, all in western Arizona. It's supported by the Arizona Peace Trail Committee, which was formed in 2014. The trail system links Bullhead City in the north and Yuma in the south. Points of interest in the trail's route include petroglyph sites and ghost towns. The next morning, we're awakened by complete silence and a nice breeze. It was pretty cool. While Ryan figured out how to make his cowboy coffee, I started gathering things to make some breakfast. I probably should clarify that I gathered and Ryan cooked an amazing and wonderful breakfast. Mom, that cooler light's amazing. It turns on when you open the lid and off when you shut it. It's pretty cool that the Bureau of Land Management provides these campgrounds nationwide that you can stop while you're traveling and spend the night. Sure makes traveling much more affordable and a lot more fun, actually. After our breakfast, we cleaned up camp, packed up, and headed out, as I wanted to show Ryan some parts of my previous trip to Slab City, East Jesus, and Salvation Mountain. A few hours later, we made it to East Jesus, located in Slab City, so Ryan can have a view of this art installation. If you're interested in the northeast shore of the Salton Sea, Slab City, Salvation Mountain, and the surrounding area, check out one of my previous videos. And here's Ryan at Salvation Mountain. We made it. Then we headed out to find a place to camp for the night, and that place ended up being Meeko Beach. This sign still cracks me up. You think after a few decades they could redo this sign to match the level of the Salton Sea. Anyhow, Meeko Beach is the place I stopped in my last trip and had lunch. It's not too far from the water, a short walking distance. Definitely no way to dive into that water from this area. Shortly after setting up our camp, nightfall came upon us and we set up our fire to cook dinner. The only downside of this area is the tin cans you have to use for your fire. Makes it a bit awkward. So we made campfire baked potatoes. It's quite simple. You just take a potato, poke it with a fork, rub the skin in butter, put salt and pepper on it, wrap it in foil, and set it on the coals, turning them about every 15 minutes for about an hour. Once we considered them done, we took them out of the fire, cracked them open, splashed them with a little sour cream, butter, and some Pinsky's Fox Point seasoning, and it was the best baked potato I have ever had. It was so fluffy, I couldn't believe it. Absolutely delicious. Morning seemed to come too quickly, but Ryan made us a nice corned beef hash and egg breakfast in tortillas, and it was delicious. We packed up camp, headed out of the Salton Sea area with one quick stop in Bombay Beach to show Ryan the community art and what it was all about. If you want to see more on Bombay Beach, check out my previous video where I covered it in much more detail. So far on this trip, we started off really in Quartzsite, maneuvered ourselves back towards the Salton Sea. That would be the northeast shore. After that, we broke camp and headed up to Giant Rock for the night. I had drove through the Giant Rock area on a previous trip. This time we get the luxury of spending the night. Giant Rock is a large freestanding boulder in the Mojave Desert near Landers, California. The boulder covers 5,800 square feet of ground and is 7 stories high, approximately 98 feet. On February 21st, 2000, a huge piece of the rock split off to reveal a white granite interior, while nearly crushing an RV in the process. Some say the break occurred due to the heat from a bonfire that burned next to the rock the night before. Others have proposed more metaphysical explanations. Giant Rock is the largest freestanding boulder in North America and is reported to be the largest freestanding boulder in the world. We found the perfect camping spot and Ryan got busy right away, cleaning out the fire ring and getting it set up for the evening. Next to our campsite was a rise of rocks, which included their own little community artwork. Giant Rock is located in Landers, California, near Joshua Tree. Native Americans of the Joshua Tree area consider it to be sacred. In the 1930s, Frank Kritzer moved to Giant Rock, inspired by desert tortoises that dug holes in which to cool themselves. Kritzer dug out a home underneath the north side of the rock using dynamite. He engineered rainwater collection system and a tunnel for ventilation. The underground home was reported never hotter than 80 degrees and never cooler than 55. Kritzer built an airstrip on the nearby ancient lake bed. It averaged a plane a day by 1941. Kritzer perished in a self-detonated dynamite explosion in his underground home on July 24, 1942, while being investigated by local police. ATV enthusiasts visit Giant Rock area as there are many miles of off-road trails. That combined with free camping, you can't beat it. In the 1950s, Giant Rock was a gathering point for UFO believers. It's located on land which was at that time leased by George Van Tassel, a friend of Kritzer's. a purported flying saucer contactee and organizer of UFO conventions. In 1947, Van Tassel, a former aircraft inspector, leased a property from the Bureau of Land Management. Van Tassel also built the nearby Integratron, a cafe, store, gas station, and the Giant Rock Airport, which operated from 1947 to 1975. Dinner that night was another amazing baked potato, and to seal the deal, who could not go camping without trying some Jiffy Pop popcorn? Using red light, as I mentioned before, helps keep your eyes clear so you can see in the dark better. I wanted to show this popcorn popping, so again I used my red headlamp. As kids, we always had Jiffy Pop when we camped, and we always burned it. Always. And this time, we did a good job. It came out great. Check it out. Popcorn. Jiffy Pop. As this was our last night of our camping adventure, we threw everything we had on the fire, including the box that we carried our firewood in. We had one big bang of a bonfire before we headed to bed, and the next morning we packed up and headed home. What a great trip we had. This footage is from a while back when I did my circumvent around the Salton Sea. I did a quick day trip to Anza Borrego Desert State Park. Anza Borrego Desert State Park is 479 feet above sea level. Coming from the Salton Sea area, which is 256 below sea level, it was a steady climb. At 585,000 acres, that includes 1/5 of San Diego County, it's the largest state park in California. The park has 500 miles of dirt roads, 12 designated wilderness areas, and 110 miles of hiking trails. Stargazing is a big activity at Anza Borrego. The park was designated as a dark sky park by the International Dark Sky Association in 2018. It always amazes me what this country has to offer. As an example, I stumbled across Goleta Meadows. Goleta Meadows is privately owned desert land. It features over 130 large metal art sculptures. The sculptures were created by Southern California artist Ricardo Brasida via commission from Dennis Avery, the owner of Goleta Meadows, now deceased and an heir to the Avery label fortune. The area is unfenced and open to the public for visitation. This footage is about a week after the trip that Ryan and I went to Quartzsite. I headed back as I wanted to explore the area more. And with Ryan's work schedule and time limitations, we couldn't do it at that time. So I headed back to Plumosa Road in hopes to secure the same campsite that Ryan had built the fire ring on. Unfortunately, some other people must have liked it because they snatched it up. Not to worry, I found my own fire ring and cleaned it up a little bit. Nothing compared to Ryan's technique. Set up my camp and hunkered down for the night. I think I was more excited to get my fire going and get some good coals so I can make that baked potato. It is the most amazing thing to make a baked potato on a fire. It's so fluffy. There's no way to explain it. The next morning I broke camp and drove down Plumosa Road and was blown away how many people were there compared to the previous week. The main reason I went back to Quartzsite was to attend the rubber tramping rendezvous, which was going on. Unfortunately, the day I was there was women only. I expressed to the gatekeeper, but what if I identify as a woman? And she looked at me and said, no, you still can't come in. I tried every trick in the book, and I was not allowed. So I took off and headed to Blythe, which was about 15 miles away, passing Dome Rock, which was pretty cool, and visited the Blythe Intaglios. I believe that's how it's pronounced. The Blythe Intaglios are a group of gigantic figures in size on the ground near Blythe, California. The ground drawings were created by humans for an, as yet, unknown reason. The Blythe Intaglios contain 3 human figures, 2 four-legged animals, and a spiral. The largest human figure is 171 feet long. They are, however, viewed best by air. They were created by scraping away layers of darker rocks or pebbles to reveal a stratum of lighter valued soil. The displaced rocks outline the figures, and the exposed soil was stamped down, which makes it more difficult for plants to grow in the lines. No Colorado River Native American group has claimed to have made them, although some have claimed to use them. They are believed to date from the prehistoric period, but their age and identity of their creator are still uncertain. J. von Werfhoff and his collaborators obtained 13 AMS radiocarbon dates for the figures, ranging from 900 BCE to 1200 CE. Although they don't compare in size to the ones in Peru, I thought they were pretty amazing. I then headed back to Quartzsite, to Palmosa Road. Crossing my fingers, I get my same fire ring that I had worked on the night before. And to my surprise, there was even more people showing up. I got lucky, got my same fire ring and campsite, and couldn't wait to get that potato in the coals. I can't tell you how amazing they are. The next morning, I headed back to the rubber tramping rendezvous, and again was denied access and entry because I had a camera. They told me they didn't want to exploit any of the women. Apparently it's okay to have a phone with a camera, but not a handheld camera. I gave them the one finger goodbye, and never again will attempt to visit that convention. A quick note about the line to get into the rubber tramping rendezvous was a couple behind me, and we were all discussing how the day before they wouldn't allow the husband in, only the wife. Mind you, these folks were in their 80s. So it wasn't just me, they were picking on any man or male. I think they were prejudiced. That's okay. I found this dirt road and found this amazing remnants of what looks like a rock cabin. It was so amazing. The fireplace, the shell was still there. I wonder what kind of roof it had on it. So that made up for all the negativity of the rubber tramping rendezvous that I experienced, because this was a cool and nice find. It was so camouflaged against the rocks. And I saw something and I had to turn around and go back and look. So, lucky for me, it was a great day. With that, I headed on home to prepare for the next adventure. And boy, was that a trip. The next adventure started off pretty nice. I was heading back to Salton City to bring a box full of my father's archives from the late 50s to the 70s and donate them to the Salton City Community Center, when all of a sudden I drove straight into a sandstorm. It was intense. How ironic this song was playing on the radio. Just before arriving at Salton City, the police had actually stopped all traffic and let only a few cars go at a time. I did make it to the Chamber of Commerce to meet Celeste, to hand over all the goodies, but I'll tell you, that sand blew. Just getting out of the car and grabbing the goodies, the sand filled my car. Intense. You're fine. I'm just glad. I think we're all glad that you're going to utilize the stuff.
Absolutely.
So, I spent a couple hours with Celeste going through the goodies, hoping the winds would die down. Unfortunately, they had closed Highway 86, and I had planned to camp in Salton City at the old campgrounds, but the wind was just too bad. Although close to the sea, there was not a lot of sand blowing, but it still was just too windy to have a campfire or to even get out of the vehicle. This is Yacht Club Drive that would take you from Marina Drive right to the yacht club that's no longer there, if you watched my previous video. All these palm trees were amazing. They had lights on them at night. They all lit up. It was like going to Disneyland to visit the yacht club. It was so manicured, and now they're all dying and dead. But yeah, it's still the sad tale of the yacht club in Salton City. After cruising around Salton City for a bit, I headed back to the main highway to see if it was open, and lucky for me, only the northbound was open. And you could see where some of the cars had pulled off, got stuck in the dirt, you know, waiting for the sand to calm down so they could leave. And the line of traffic heading southbound, it was lined up all the way to Indio, which is about 33 miles. But heading north, on the left, you can see the mountains and the little hills there. They blocked the sand, and I made it to the north shore to Corvina Beach, where I got to set up camp. There was only light wind, so I was pretty good for the night. I set up and made myself some dinner, and then camped out for the night. The next morning, a slight breeze and clear skies. You can see to the left, that's heading south. There was still a little bit of sand blowing, but it was gorgeous where I was camping. So I decided to pack up and head south on 111 on the north shore of Salton Sea and go to the Imperial Sand Dunes. The Imperial Sand Dunes Recreation Area is a large sand dune field located in the southeastern portion of California, near the border of Mexico. The field is approximately 45 miles long by 6 miles wide, and mostly referred to as Glamis. In 1966, Imperial Sand Hills was designated as a national landmark by the National Park Service. The folks out here mean business with their big fancy toy haulers and dune buggies, I guess you call them. Man, there's some money out here, guys. The dunes were used to film parts of Road to Morocco, The Flight of Phoenix, The Garden of Allah, Stargate, Resident Evil, Extinction, and Return of the Jedi. The dunes also appear in the opening sequence of the TV series Kung Fu. Well, thanks for watching this mishmash of camping trips. Love you, Mom.